All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one we'll be doing our final Q&A for this week, leading up to the second last episode of Game of Thrones. That is Season 8, Episode 5. Oh man, so tonight is the night we have our second last episode for Game of Thrones, the television series on HBO, and basically 1 week left. You know, we have today and tonight's episode, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, so yeah, absolutely. Next Sunday, of course, is the absolute final episode, so episodes 5 and 6. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Game of Thrones is over. It's in the bag. And we'll have to see how everyone's feeling at that time when we've seen the actual final episode of the series and the overall finale. But from the looks of things, it looks like tonight's episode is going to be the big battle, right? So next Sunday, I'm thinking maybe either the battle may finish up and just kind of spill over a little bit, or possibly just kind of some things happening as a final episode and kind of letting us know where each person is at when things actually end off. So I'm not sure right now if tonight's episode is going to, include the entire battle, or if it's just going to be kind of part of it, and then the actual final episode will be more of maybe a positive episode, or a maybe kind of prepping for peace, that kind of thing, and whoever happens to win the Game of Thrones, or maybe some last few things before the series finally ends. So for this one here, I thought we would start off, because this is a good question, and we'll go into your guys' Q&As for today. Seeing as how this is a big episode, one of the biggest episodes ever, I don't know if it's going to surpass The Long Night, but it's kind of the finale. The whole season is sort of like the finale, but this is sort of like the finale episode, because this is going to be the last big battle probably that we ever see in the series, and man, I'm going to miss some of these awesome episodes that Game of Thrones has. Certain episodes Game of Thrones has done throughout its run are some of the best in the history of television, I really think. So, some amazing stuff from them. So the topic for this one to start things off, should the Night King have been the final villain for Game of Thrones? Dentro Bait 54 sent this one through. He said, I wish the prediction that the Night King would fly to King's Landing and turn Cersei into a Wight had come true. That'd be far more interesting than what we got. That the dragons survived so much over the seasons, only for two of them to die within a few episodes of each other, is pure BS and undermines the story. So not everybody is happy with kind of the way the Long Night played out. And I think it's probably because, and I said this going into that episode, that it would be kind of strange to have Cersei be the final villain of the series, because what we're seeing now, we're seeing the last war, but really it's more like kind of the forces that Daenerys, Jon, and the others have left over, because they fought the Long Night. They lost so many people during that. I mean, literally when you watch that episode through, the Long Night through, by the time it ends, it really feels like they've lost. Like, it really looks like everybody's dead. Like, there might be a few that are still scrambling to survive, but when you watch that through, it felt like everybody was gone. Like, it felt like their whole army had been killed. And then afterwards, we did get to see that, okay, a lot of them had been killed, but not all of them. There were still some that, they had survived, not just Jon and Daenerys and some of the other, Sansa, and some of the more prominent Arya type of characters, but a lot of their soldiers actually did manage to get through, or at least some of their soldiers did. But it puts us in a weird spot, because after the Long Night ended, it was such an epic battle and everything, and they barely got out of it alive. Like, they almost died, right? It was that close, to the point where they were all finished off basically by the White Walkers and the Night King. Now what we're seeing is, in terms of video, I know it's Game of Thrones, so it's more sophisticated than video game logic, but if you want to go based on video game logic, the final boss is, the boss you face at the very end of the last level of the game. You know what I mean? Like, this is Game of Thrones. The top boss, or the hardest boss to beat, is usually supposed to be, unless it's like, I don't know, Final Fantasy something where you go off and face Omega Weapon, or some special boss that's over here that's not part of the regular, something like this. Most games, the final boss battle is the most powerful boss. It's the I don't know who would be it's your Bowser or your most powerful boss at the end of the game. So because this is Game of Thrones, you'd almost kind of think the final villain would be your most formidable villain, who, if I had to say from the series, would be the Night King. Like if I thought that the White Walkers against Cersei, who would win? Cersei and her army, as we've seen it, against the White Walkers. Dude, the White Walkers, the Night King would have rolled them so easily. He would have stomped them. He would have rolled them. It would have been so easy. It would have been no problem for him. There's just about no way Cersei would have been able to beat the Army of the Dead, right? So the fact that Daenerys and Arya and Jon were able to somehow pull it out, it kind of just felt like it was so epic. And now we're seeing this other battle too, which is awesome too. And already there's a couple casualties here. It just feels like, man, they should have probably had the Night King been the final kind of boss. So it's what it is. It's kind of just the way the story went through. But, Game of Thrones is a more sophisticated series. It doesn't have to follow video game logic to have the final villain be the Night King. I'm just wondering, for the top villains of the series, should Cersei be number one? And I'm kind of sitting here saying, like, probably not, because I thought the Night King was so epic and so cool. Sure, he got beaten by one stab and it was over for him. But, I mean, that was awesome. That was an awesome battle. He looked so fearsome when he raised up all the dead as Jon was running towards him. And he got burned, dragon fire like point blank range. And he just smiles after, that was so epic. So when the series is all said and done, one of the first videos we'll do, top 10 best Game of Thrones villains, because there's been lots throughout the series. But I think for me, the Night King, spoilers for the video, will probably be number one. Maybe you put Cersei at number two. Although Joffrey and Ramsay better than Cersei? I don't know. I guess it depends on your taste, right? Some people like that kind of Wicked Witch type of character, which Cersei, Evil Queen type of character, which Cersei plays very well. I mean, she's awfully twisted, sleeping with her brother and all the crazy things incest and all the crazy things she's done throughout the series. So let me know what you guys think about that one. Do you think that they should have reworked it somehow to make it so that the Night King was actually the final kind of epic battle? The Long Night was like the final battle of the series instead of what's going on with Cersei. Let me know what you guys think. I kind of feel like, the White Walkers probably should have been the final villains, but who knows? We haven't seen the episodes yet, too, so we haven't seen the twists and turns and how epic it's going to be at the very end. I'm Joker28 said, will the Mother of Dragons die on Mother's Day? Find out this Sunday on Game of Thrones. So I like that one. He's got some good ones, right? Joker guy. I'm Joker28. He's got some zingers over time, man. I got to tell you, some of his comments have been really good. So keep it up, dude. Keep it up, man. WhiteMale, racism here. WhiteMale says, if you would get 500K each episode, would you also leave your trash behind on set for others to pick up? Now, I think someone said there was a Starbucks cup or something. I didn't catch it, but I'm making my notes too. Have you guys seen? I write down like 2 or 3 pages as I'm watching the episodes. So I don't always catch every single little thing visually because I'm trying to kind of, write out my notes for the reviews and kind of give my thoughts on the direction it's taking as a whole. Sometimes I may miss little things like that. And apparently there was trash, just being left around, and apparently in one of the scenes. So I don't know. I'll have to look into it more myself. But the question stands, if you guys were getting paid $500,000 an episode, would you leave trash behind like you're the queen? Here's my answer for you. It depends on whether or not you're a good guy or a bad guy. If you're playing Cersei, you leave your trash behind, you let them pick it up. You do it on purpose because it makes sense. Then you're in character all the way through, so it works. If you're the Night King, then you not only do you leave it behind, but you scrunch it up too, so it's like dead, and then you drop it, and then you walk off. That's what you do. But if you're a good guy, if you're Jon, you're Sansa, you're Daenerys, you're one of the others, you pick up your damn trash, people, and you put it in. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what you do. You put your trash in the thing. It's like the thing that people have maids, like people who hire maids and stuff like that. It's tricky. Like if you're working 60 hours a week and or you got two adults, they're both working, they're both doing stuff. Okay, I get it. But otherwise, it's like, why don't you just do it yourself? But I don't know. We live in a system where, I guess if you're making, millions of dollars a year, then you figure you don't. You're beyond that or something. I don't know. But I think that's kind of wrong, right? It's like recycle your pick up your stuff, put it in the garbage, put out your recycle. Do it come on, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like everything wrong with capitalism and the class system is like you have these certain people that just killing it, then you have people that can barely scrape 2 pennies together. It's just this is what it is, right? Brian Achim says the spin-offs will be over, or the spin-offs will be over before George R.R. Martin even finishes the books. And that's probably a fair prediction from Brian Achim. It's probably true before George R.R. Martin finishes and releases the books. They probably will, but the books are a lot more elaborate than the TV series. You have more characters, you have more things happening. The TV series ended up being somewhat of a streamlined version, which makes sense because you're only going to do 8 years, you're going to do 8 seasons. It's actually more like 9 years at this point, but you're going to do 8 seasons. You're only going to get to do so many episodes. You only have budget for so much stuff. The audience, you have to make decisions on what you're going to do as far as the characters go, and maybe you don't want to bring in too many. So they kind of started to sort of wind things down, I feel like, after about season 4. They started to kind of make the pacing go a little bit faster. Like, I remember Tyrion's journey when he found Daenerys. That was really fast compared to the book version, because I remember reading that in the books and being like, wow, this is really long, right? It takes a long time to, reading is slow. You got to go, you kind of drudge through. It takes a long time. If you don't have a lot of time available when you start reading stuff, it just takes up so much time, right? But Tyrion's journey in the books felt like an eternity. It felt really long. And then the TV series, it was like, boom. It was like a few episodes or whatever, less than a season, and he was with Daenerys. And then he was Hand of the Queen, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. It was so much faster than it was in the books. And there's lots of stuff like that, and that's just kind of how it is, I guess. It's just reading novels is it's not as fast of a transfer in terms of the material. It's so as such, and he's adding more things into it. He's a brilliant man. He's a genius for coming up with Game of Thrones to start with, and going so against the grain. Game of Thrones is a series and A Song of Ice and Fire that goes totally against kind of your normalcy. It goes against what you normally read or what you normally would see in a show. And I think that's why it worked so well, because it broke all the rules and did it in kind of a amazing fashion. So that's why it became what it did, I think, anyway. Killed off characters you never thought would, and then kept doing that, and then kind of has veered off from that as we've gotten further on. But we'll see. Maybe we'll have some A-listers die tonight, so we'll see. Captain Clown says, I think you're in for a shocker, Trev, expecting Jon and or Daenerys living through the end. They will both die next episode, I bet. Really subvert our expectations, as the saying goes. If you think this is a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. So it's a good comment from Captain Clown. He could be right. That maybe we will see the death of Daenerys or Jon tonight. I don't know. We'll have to see, man. It's Game of Thrones, so it's really hard to say. I want to see, at least one of them survive. Jon's kind of died already, and the series is almost over anyway. So maybe I'd like to see Daenerys survive, but she's been kind of a mad queen lately, or like kind of crazy lately, putting the throne above Jon. I kind of was like, I just don't know. Asking him to lie and stuff, makes me kind of want to root for Jon. So, but we'll see. Maybe she won't. Maybe she won't survive. I'd be happy if Jon was alive at the end, sitting there. But it could be somebody totally different, like Sansa or something, and maybe a lot of the main characters will be killed. I wouldn't be surprised if that was what they did. Either. Ash Williams says fans and critics are calling season 8 the worst season and the most disappointing. In my opinion, it's the best season because the show sucks. I just want it to end and never talk about it again. So not everyone is a Game of Thrones fan. The Game of Thrones elitists right now are fuming. They've got they're ready, dragon fire coming out of their ears. Their heads are ready to explode because that's one thing about Game of Thrones, man. That's one thing I won't miss. It has the most elitist fans I've ever seen. It's full of introverted, narcissistic, people that think it's better than it. Well, it is really amazing, right? So we got to say that it's really amazing, but it sure does have an elitist fan base where they, some of the hardcore Game of Thrones fans, they really do think that Nothing can touch it. And it certainly makes the case that no other series can touch it. So, with certain episodes they've done and stuff, it's hard to say. But I love that as the series has gone through, and I've seen this firsthand, it kind of went against them. And maybe that's why they're mad now. Because the series changed. It ran past the books. So they could no longer, be like, I know what's going to happen, right? Because it went past it. And all of a sudden, like last few episodes, my predictions have been spot on, like exact, like Arya, and everything's like exact. Now this one, I'm sure I won't be right with the end, because they're going to throw us through some big time curves, and like we said, they might just kill off both Jon and Daenerys or something like that, and then Cersei as well too. Who knows, right? It's going to be, they're probably going to do some crazy twists and turns tonight and next Sunday. I'd expect to see that. So trying to predict that is just about impossible, right? I mean, you can try, but it's just about impossible. But I love that the series, it sort of became like it flipped on the elitists, and I won't go into it too much because we'll take up the whole video just talking about that. But as things went forward, it turned on them. They thought they had it all figured out. I thought it was this, and it became more and more streamlined, and then the pacing went faster, and it sort of changed from what they thought. Or for example, they used to say, well, no one's safe in Game of Thrones, they'll kill off anybody, right? And then the last couple years, and Jon Snow, for example, they kill Jon, but then they bring him back, right? So it's kind of like, oh, you did, but no, you didn't, right? And so it's been really cool the last few years to kind of see this go through as kind of these hardcore elitist, crazy fans that are just over the top with their Game of Thrones elitism have sort of, it's come back against them now. And like people saying, oh, well, the last season, season 8's the worst, it sucks. It's like, I don't know how you can say that. I thought The Long Night was unbelievable. Sure, maybe there haven't been as many twists as what some people would want. But granted, seeing the one dragon go down from Euron was kind of a twist and kind of came out of nowhere. So, we'll see in the end how many twists there are in these last two episodes. But I love the way this has gone in Game of Thrones. This really makes me smile, because it's really gone against what they all sort of, a lot of them kind of held in this sort of regard. It's really kind of turned on them in a lot of ways. Adnam Maruf says one spin-off and a couple of movies is enough. So that's true. They can do one spin-off series, and I'd be fine with that. They don't need to make 100. They don't need to do what The Walking Dead's doing, where it's got lots of spin-offs going, and the main series is going to go for 20 years, and there's going to be movies and all this stuff. Game of Thrones, if they do one more prequel or spin-off series, or if they do some movies or something, hey, that's cool. As long as they do something. A lot of people probably would say The Walking Dead has probably done too much. Game of Thrones, we'll see how it goes in the next few years. But so far, it's looking like they're probably not going to do that much. There'll be something. As long as there's something, that rather than nothing, then the fan base will probably be okay with it. But who knows what that fan base will be? Because the hardcore elitist Game of Thrones fans, they're kind of like, here we got one. So Captain Shark says, no need for spin-offs. They already killed Game of Thrones with Season 8 garbage. So, I don't know, man. Why are people so disappointed with Season 8? Because I think it's been great. I mean, it hasn't been that many episodes, but, the episodes have been amazing so far. It's just that some people don't like that maybe the characterization, like Daenerys is kind of acting a little too crazy and selfish, and they think that's uncharacteristic. Bronn just kind of has had enough of everybody, and he's pissed off, and he's just a bully now. And they don't like that he's not joking around. So the characters have kind of had enough in some ways. So, yeah, I hear that. I get what you're saying, that it doesn't always necessarily fit, right? It's decent criticism. It's not something we can ignore. JJ says, Robert's Rebellion would be the best spin-off. Too bad it's already been confirmed. It's not happening. And the last one will be from XBAMFX816, who says, I would love a spin-off that explores the other areas of Essos and Valyria prior to the Doom and leading up to it. It sounds really interesting and deals unexplored areas and more dragons and mages as well. So we'll wrap it up after these two. Yeah, basically, we'll see what actually ends up. One of the things we can't do is it's so early yet for the other series that they're producing. It's hard to say right now what the Long Night series is going to be like, if just what that's going to look like in the TV series version. Because again, it's hard to tell. There's a lot of things that have to happen first. You have to see who's going to be involved with it. You have to see who's going to kind of take the helm. And again, sometimes you can have the book version, and that can be great. but then when they go to make a TV series version, it can be a different interpretation. It can be more streamlined. It can be, more. They can add in stuff, So, like they have done in Game of Thrones, certain times they've added in a couple things earlier on, but not last little while. They've just kind of been seemingly trying to speed towards that finish to wrap it up because they're all getting tired. And I think that's one thing with Game of Thrones is that a lot of the people who've been doing the series since the beginning, like everybody basically, even the actresses, to me it feels like a lot of them just want to wrap it up because it's been going so long. So we'll see what the spin-offs have. When we get a trailer or something, that's when we can start to kind of give more of our thoughts on it. It's so early days right now. We shouldn't really act like anything's confirmed. Everything is just starting production or just like, in writing and things like that. And some of it could fall through. One of the series already is falling through. So we'll see, man. We'll see what they have. Hopefully it's in the next 2 years and hopefully it's something good. So we'll see. Leave your comments below. Let me know where you guys are at. How are you feeling about Game of Thrones Season 8 at this time, leading up to the last 2 episodes? How do you feel about the spin-offs or prequel series? What do you think we'll end up seeing get done? And if you think anything's going to get canceled or movies or whatever, let me know what you guys think. What are your theories? I'd say they're theories right now at best for what we will see. Because everything is subject to change and we'll have to see the final product. At least we'll have to see a trailer before we can even really kind of give more thoughts on it. It's hard when, it's a new series and a lot of things can happen with new shows. You really have no idea what you're going to get. And sometimes they just get flat out canceled, right? If you like the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and subscribe at the bottom left if you're new. Subscribe pillow, right? Lay down the subscribe pillow, right? So, and I'll see you guys back again tonight for the review for the second last episode of Game of Thrones. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And I'll see you guys again tonight. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you tonight.